The next presentation we got is about professionalism in perfusion. And I have to say, I couldn't think of somebody better to actually give this talk, if I'm honest. I've known of Tami for many years. She actually came across and did some work in Credon Street at one point in time, unfortunately before my time, but her legacy lingers on, and she's always talked very fondly by the Perfusionists that remain there. And I won't give away too many secrets. I do know a few stories of when she was there, but it would be very ungentlemanly of me to bring that up right now. In the bar later, that's a completely different thing, and yes, we shall have lots of fun to talk about that anyway. And to all people who are just starting out in perfusion, doesn't matter whether you're male or female, she's a great role model. If you want to learn about professionalism, that's the person to look for. So without further ado, Tami Rosenthal.
Thanks, Richard. Good afternoon. I was asked to talk about professionalism in perfusion this afternoon, and this is actually not something that there was a focus on back when I was in school. And after over 25 years in the industry, I feel that I still have a lot to learn, and I learn a lot every year. So just touching on what is professionalism, when we talk about a job versus a career, what really makes the difference is professionalism. It's our skills in leadership, in communication, efficiency, flexibility, continuous learning, and continuously adapting is very important. I think I'll start by talking about how you look. I read a study recently that the average human formulates their first impression of someone in 33 to 100 milliseconds. So that's basically a glance, and it starts at your head and goes all the way down to your shoes. So if you're sloppily dressed, or you're wearing something old, you're not put together, your hair is a mess, it can really lead people to perceive you as lazy, unreliable, unprofessional. So picture this. Your alarm went off, you're rushing, you hit snooze a couple times, you're rushing to get into work, you don't want to be late, you have a big case in the morning, so you grab that t-shirt that was just laying on the floor, and the jeans that didn't make it in for the wash yesterday, and an old pair of shoes, and you're figuring, I'm wearing a hat all day anyway, so I'm just not doing anything with my hair, and you rush into work. So now you're on time, but you step into the elevator, and who's in the elevator now with you but the family of the patient that you put on ECMO yesterday? And they definitely recognize you, and you recognize them, and they're kind of looking at you like a little suspicious. Another situation that I find happens a lot for myself and my team, we're leaving work, we're in a little bit of a rush to get home or get to whatever our evening looks like. We come out of the locker room and we walk smack dab into the chief of cardiovascular surgery, who is wearing a three-piece suit, looks really sharp, and there you are in the ripped jeans, the dirty shirt, and the hair that you didn't brush. So he's looking at you. You had a really nice case with him earlier in the day, but now he's looking at you a little differently. So I think that this 33 seconds it takes to formulate this impression of you or this idea of you is really important. This creates a really great positive first impression. It also draws positive attention. It helps you to promote self-confidence. You always feel a little bit better when you look a little bit nicer. They say it keeps you productive, and it can be fun because you can display your own personal style. We got headshots taken at work for some of our PR and our website. And a couple of the younger guys on my team, I said to them, just as a little mom-like, but I said, do you have a nice jacket and tie and shirt for your headshot? And they were like, well, we have a jacket and shirt, but we're not wearing a tie. And I said, okay, why wouldn't you wear a tie? And they said, well, it's out of trend. And I said, okay. Meanwhile, all the conferences I go to, when people are formally dressed, they're wearing a tie. So I said, well, let's go on the CHOP website and look in the cardiac center and look at all the other practitioners and see what all the men are wearing. And we went on, and less than 50% of the men were wearing ties. So why I share this story is that times have changed, and what business casual and business dress means today is different than what it did 20 years ago. So there's another phrase, it's called be your authentic self. And this has become really popular. I hear it quite frequently. And the first time I heard it, I really didn't know what this meant for me personally or professionally. Authenticity is quoted as, "It happens when your words, your actions, and your behaviors consistently match your core identity and beliefs." So what does that mean for me? In this article in Forbes, they talked about 5 different areas where you can be your best authentic self. Sharing elements of your personal life. I worked with a surgeon for over 20 years. He didn't know my kids' names. He didn't know what I like to do in my personal time. We just never had that kind of relationship. I had a newer surgeon join just a year or so ago, and I was trying to connect with him. I wanted to build trust and confidence. And I found out he really likes food and he really likes to go out for dinner. And so when I see him at the scrub sink, or we're passing each other, or there's a moment for a little chit chat, I ask him what restaurants he's been to or what food he likes or a dinner he's made. And we really have this connection. And I feel like when he looks over the pump at me, I feel like he trusts me more, and we've able to build this relationship because it started personally as well as professionally. Being open about how you feel when you're hanging out in the pump room and you're having some conversations with your team. Open up, share. It really does create a bond, and you tend to work better together, trust each other more. Asking questions. I tell my team all the time, if you are thinking of a question, please ask it, because you're not the only one. You never are, but no one wants to ask the silly question. And I think there's really no silly question. Giving constructive feedback. I've been in the industry a long time, and someone more junior on my team, I want to hear from them. If they're backing me and they see me doing something that I could be doing better, I'm not doing right, just something to improve, I want them to feel comfortable helping me to improve my skills, and it helps them as well. And stating your boundaries. I worked with an anesthesiologist for many years who always controlled the conversation. And finally, I spoke up, and I said, this is what I think we should be doing, and this is why. And I really gained her respect. So it's really important that you speak up for yourself. So technology is not the only area where perfusion is seeing advancement. Newer generations of perfusionists are looking at things differently, doing things differently. COVID has made a really big difference. In my 20-some years as a perfusionist, I can count on one hand how many times I was out sick. Actually, it was probably only 2 times. But now that's not acceptable. Now we're at the other end of COVID, and it's better for ourselves, our own well-being, for our teammates, and for our patients, that if we're sick, we stay home. Times have changed. We need to look at things differently. When I think about professionalism, there are 5 major areas that come to mind being crucially important. One is higher education, which really elevates our profession as well as ourselves professionally. Communication, when we do this well, it's recognized only as professional, but it can make a difference in our clinical and non-clinical skills. Taking initiative, you can make a difference for yourself in your career. Getting help, what a difference a mentor can make, and how professional involvement can help you as well as contributing to the community of perfusion. I very often get this question, do I need a master's? And if I get a master's, should I get an MBA? Should I get an MHA? Should I get a master's in perfusion? And how will a master's impact my career? Am I going to get more money? Am I going to get promotion? And am I interested in all these different areas that I'm going to learn about getting a higher level degree? I do want to take a second to applaud all the teachers, the program directors, the clinical instructors. Perfusion's come a really long way from when I graduated. 76% of programs are master's level. We have a higher level of education across the board than we ever have before. So just talking about this choice, if you do go for your master's, when I get this question, how I explain it is because someone will say to me, why did you get your MBA? Well, at the time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in perfusion. I didn't know if I wanted to stay in healthcare. And I felt that the MBA gave me a really wide open platform that I could take that and work in any field. If you know you want to stay in healthcare, you want to move into administration, you want to move higher level in a hospital or a medical group, your MHA is a great way to go. And then a master's in perfusion. If you feel that you just want to be a lead on a team or you want to be a chief, it's going to be a great way to go. But they're all going to give you building blocks to move forward in your career. So there's really no wrong choice here. And some of the tools that you will learn in that higher level of education is about communication. There's no dispute the importance of communication in almost any industry. And when we talk about communication in healthcare, we know patient safety is the top reason, and it drives organizations to work on this. Errors are preventable just by improving communication. And just touching on communication isn't always about just the right information. It's also about the right time and making sure it's effective. How many times have we walked away from a conversation with a teammate or a physician thinking we're on the same page, and then a day later, nothing happened the way I had expected? When we look at communication and perfusion, breaking it down into 4 major areas, we have our day-to-day operations, making things work in the operating room, blood products, drugs, supplies, working together, fires in the moment, if we have an eCPR in the ICU, getting the right person there at the right time with the right equipment, and our initiatives and projects when we're trying to move things forward with quality improvement or data, and growth and development, a little higher level for our perfusion department. If we have a strong base of being able to effectively communicate with each other, then we'll be successful in all of these areas. And so how do we do that? What kind of tools can we use? It used to be email, but now everyone gets so much email. I was just having a conversation about how not everyone reads their emails, even though they probably should. And too much texting. We spend so much time texting each other, and it's really choppy and not a really smooth way to communicate. My team uses an app. There's a lot of new technology out that's available. We actually started out on GroupMe, and then we moved to Slack, and now we're using Teams. And I don't really think it matters what platform that you use. I think all of the technology is continuously improving. But let me give you an example. So I'm doing a case with my chief of cardiovascular surgery, and we go on bypass. Everything's going really smoothly. He asked the scrub nurse for the cardioplegia needle. She hands it to him. He goes to cannulate, and he's like, Tami, I don't use this needle. This isn't the needle that I want. Why do I have this? And meanwhile, I've used that every other case I've ever done with him. But apparently last week on the case he did with Molly, he had this brainstorm that he was going to use the long 18 gauge needle instead of the short one. And she forgot to mention it to me and the rest of the team. So there I am. My case is a little off the rails now because now he's not in a good mood and I'm like trying to recover. So it's these little details that we need to be able to pass along to each other. Another example, so Brandon loaned the nursing team our HeartMate 3 monitor because they needed to do some training, and that was last week. He's on vacation this week. The HeartMate 3 is on the schedule for today, and I'm manning the VAD side, and I'm looking everywhere for the HeartMate 3 console, and I can't find it, and he's on vacation. So a little bit of a jam. So it's these little pieces of information that we need to make sure we pass along to each other, and an app is a great way to do it. Shifting gears a little bit to talk about mentorship. And getting a mentor wasn't something that I was really focused on. When I was in MBA school, I met a friend. We really got along well. We talked a lot about school. We talked about work. And one day we had a conversation and I said, I keep having these meetings with my boss, and she'll say to me like every 6 months, she'll say to me like, how do you see your career path going at CHOP? Or, where do you see yourself? And, I would say, well, I'd really want to get more involved in different projects and initiatives outside the OR. I'm open, I'm ready. And every time we had that conversation, she brought up about how I had 2 young kids. And that was really frustrating to me because I'm like, you're asking me this question, but that I feel like you're not supporting me. So I went to my friend and I said, explain the situation. And I said, what can I do? And she gave me some really strong talking points. And I went back to my boss and we had a really strong conversation. And then every meeting I had with her after, my kids did not come up any longer. That was the launch of my mentorship with her. She gave me advice on conflicts and advancing things in my career, and it's been really super helpful. In this article in Forbes, it talks about a remarkable 75% of executives say mentoring has been critical to their career development, and the right mentor can energize you and provide counsel. And also the flip side, when you mentor others, you can really help to accelerate their career and help them to exceed. I thought this was an interesting article specifically about women, how they must advocate for themselves, but they can't go it alone. Women hold just 24% of senior management roles. They make up a mere 3% of Fortune 500 CEOs, and 1 in 18 women earns a 6-figure salary versus 1 in 7 men. And for women of color, this wage and leadership gap is even wider. So it is really critical that you recognize when you do need some help and mentorship. And I've always known what a mentor was, but I really didn't know what a sponsor was. And later on in my career, when my chief of cardiac surgery retired and we got a new chief, he and I started working together on some projects, and I had a lot of success. And he had heard about some of the other things that I had done over my years at CHOP. And he really took me under his wing. He's recommended me for bigger roles, challenging assignments, and has, as it's mentioned here, touted my accomplishments, really somebody advocating for you on a higher level. And so if this opportunity comes up, having a mentor and a sponsor can really benefit you in different ways. I thought this was also an interesting article, just talking about how those who have mentors are better prepared for promotion and have higher success rates. They stay with the organizations longer, which is really important these days, feeling more satisfied with their jobs and their careers, and they rate higher on performance measures. So this is really something to consider, keeping your eyes open to find that match of a mentor. Something else you can do for yourself as a professional is professional development. This is very specific to the individual. Whether you take leadership development courses, I know at CHOP we have a Center for Professional Growth, and you can take different courses there. A lot of hospitals have them. Also, our professional associations. AMSECT has a leadership symposium, which I'm involved in. I would highly recommend getting involved with committees or projects, whether it's within your cardiac center or within your hospital or your professional organizations. Attending conferences, getting involved, moderating or presenting. And when I talk about that, a lot of people say, well, I don't like to public speak, or I'm really nervous about public speaking. And I always was terrified about public speaking. And after I got my MBA, I decided I was going to just find a way to improve my public speaking so that I wouldn't be so terrified. And I found Toastmasters International. I don't know if anyone has heard of it or tried it, but I would highly recommend it. It is an opportunity on a local level. Some of the groups have once a month meeting or once every other month meeting. My girlfriend and I went, and it was at a bar. And we'd have a couple drinks and some dinner and network and meet people and get up and do a presentation. I think the problem for perfusionists is that we go to a conference once a year. And so we're presenting once a year, and if we're lucky. And so every time it's like recreating the wheel. So I would highly recommend Toastmasters. They also promote what they call table topics. And that's when you take a turn, you stand up at the front of the room, and someone asks you a random question that you're not prepared for. And that's a great way to A, be completely terrified, and B, work through that and be able to answer questions on the fly. And professional association involvement, I highly recommend this. I've had a great experience in my time with AMSECT and with the Academy, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I always say take opportunities. In a recent interview, our president and CEO talked about how she advanced in her career. Looking back, she said she wasn't clear about her intentions. She said she really regretted it. She said, you don't just tell one person, you tell 10 people. And it doesn't have to be really granular. It's not like I want that position, but it's just sharing that you want to do more, you want to get more involved. She said, be intentional about it, because you never know when an opportunity is going to come up. And if you tell multiple people, someone is going to remember that you said it. They're going to remember your name, and they're going to circle back around with you and give you an opportunity. And you need to think outside the box. She said, you never know what could open up and could lead you down a different path. And I thought that was really great advice. At CHOP, we have these opportunities called stretch assignments. I think this is a newer phrase. I think in the past it might have been called an interim position, or something along those lines. I was involved in the women's group in a mentor-mentee program, and I was talking to my mentee one day, and we were talking about these stretch assignments, and I was saying, oh, this is like a new thing, and CHOP's doing this more. When a manager leaves the organization, instead of posting the position and having people apply and filling the position, they pull someone from a different area, and they're basically giving somebody an opportunity. And I said to her, this would be great for you. And she said, well, I actually got offered a stretch assignment just recently. And I was like, that's great. And she said, I turned it down. And I said, why? And she said, I didn't know if I could do it. And, we worked through that, but the idea is it's okay for you to know whether you can do it or not. And it's okay for you to not know whether you can do it or not. That's the opportunity. That's the chance you take. For a stretch assignment from the employer perspective, you're taking this employee who's currently employed and you're engaging them. You're giving them a fresh opportunity. You're going to improve relationships. You're testing them out, basically. And then from the employee, you're getting a chance to try something new. You're getting to practice skills you already have or develop new skills and build new relationships. And the question that people have when these opportunities come up is, what if I fail? And I think what the question should be is, what if I succeed? I'm going to attempt to show. These guys are awesome. They're going to help me. It's a YouTube clip. This is Amy Cuddy. She's a social psychologist. Really amazing. You have to check her out on YouTube. Fake it until you make it. So let's see if I can get this to play.
To be here, not supposed to be here. So the end of my first year at Harvard, a student who had not talked in class the entire semester, who I had said, look, you got to participate or else you're going to fail, came into my office. I really didn't know her at all. And she came in totally defeated, and she said, I'm not supposed to be here. And that was the moment for me, because two things happened. One was that I realized, oh my gosh, I don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel that anymore, but she does, and I get that feeling. And the second was, she is supposed to be here. Like, she can fake it, she can become it. So I was like, yes, you are. You are supposed to be here, and tomorrow you're gonna fake it, you're gonna make yourself powerful, and you're gonna, and you're gonna go into the classroom, and you are gonna give the best comment ever. And she gave the best comment ever. And people turned around, they were like, oh my God, I didn't even notice her sitting there, She comes back to me months later, and I realized that she had not just faked it till she made it, she had actually faked it till she became it. So she had changed. And so I want to say to you, don't fake it till you make it. Fake it till you become it. It's not.
I love that. Fake it till you become it. Ask the question, what if I succeed, not what if I fail? Right there, I thought I wasn't going to be able to move forward. So I want to talk about professional organizations. For those of you who don't know me, I am heavily involved in my professional organizations in AMSECT. I started out as the Zone 3 board member. Actually, I got a call from two colleagues, Jim Rieger and Dan Gomez, who I had worked with previously. And they said, there's a board position open. We think you'd be great for it. We think you should run. And I was like, me? Really? Okay. Yeah, let's do it. I had never really thought about it, had never really gotten involved in my schooling, and early in my career, it wasn't promoted. It wasn't a big topic in my program, and then it wasn't a big topic at my first job. And so I had been moving through my profession and really not gotten involved. And so it just took two fellow perfusionists to reach out to me, and it's really launched my professional organization career. I'm the co-chair of the Leadership Symposium. I filled the role of president-elect for 2 years, and now I'm the current president for AMSECT. And I've met such amazing people and gotten to do such amazing work that I otherwise never would have gotten to. I'm also involved with the Academy, current secretary. So it doesn't really matter specifically which organization. You just need to find the right fit for yourself. But I highly recommend getting involved. Some of the reasons, as you can see listed here: broadening your knowledge, taking charge of your career. Of course, it's good for your resume, enhancing your network. One of my colleagues was running for the AMSEC board, and she was considering it, and she was talking about all the things that it was going to do for her, and she was totally right with all of them. And on the fantastic side is that even while that she was going to be benefiting it, the organization benefited from it and from her involvement. So it really works both ways. So this is me asking you, get involved. I think you would be great at it. There's lots of work to be done in all of these organizations, and it's not only going to help you, but it's going to help the perfusion community. So to sum it all up, I was recently last fall was at the CREF meeting, and they have you sum up your talk they call these Monday morning takeaways. And I love this because when I come home from a conference, that's what I like to do, is bring home a list of things for us to do and talk about. So summing it all up, be authentic, speak up for yourself, your teammates, and your patients, fake it until you become it, take stretch assignments and different opportunities that are outside your comfort zone, advocate for yourself, get a mentor and a sponsor, don't go it alone, and volunteer. Professional involvement will change your life. And of course, dress sharp. Thank you.